Let me tell you something about day 3 of no contact that might surprise you. This is when everything shifts in her mind. Not day 1, not day 7. Day 3. Most men break by now. They panic. They text. They explain. But you haven't. And here's the truth from a woman's perspective. Your silence on day 3 is breaking her expectation pattern in ways she didn't see coming. I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in her head right now. If you're here, you're probably on day 2. Day 3, maybe day 4 of no contact. And you're fighting every instinct to reach out. You want to know if this is actually working. You need to know what's going through her mind. Here's the truth from a woman's perspective. Day 3 sits at a critical psychological threshold. It's not arbitrary. There's a reason why day 3 specifically matters. And it has everything to do with how the female brain processes absence, expectation, and the shift from testing to genuine concern. By the end of this, you're going to understand her complete psychological timeline from day 1 to day 3. You'll know her exact thoughts on day 3. The signs that reveal she's thinking about you, and most importantly, what you absolutely should not do right now. So let's start with why day 3 is the critical turning point in her mind. Here's why day 3 specifically matters. It's the 72-hour psychological threshold. In human psychology, 3 days is long enough to disrupt a pattern, but short enough that the absence still feels fresh and urgent. It's not a coincidence. It's how our brains are wired. Think about it. Day 1. She can rationalize your silence. You're busy. You're tired. You had a long day. Day 2. The rationalization starts to crack. This is longer than usual. But she can still explain it away. Maybe you're giving her space. Maybe you're waiting for her to text first. But day 3 is when the pattern disruption becomes undeniable. She can't rationalize it anymore. You should have texted by now. And here's the thing. Most men do. Most men break by day 2, day 3 at the latest. They panic. They send the follow-up text. They ask if everything's okay. They explain themselves. So when you don't, it completely breaks her expectation model of how men behave. She's used to men chasing. She's used to being pursued. And when that doesn't happen on the timeline she expects, it creates cognitive dissonance in her mind. This is also when the shift happens from testing to genuine concern. On day 1 and 2, if she was pulling back or acting distant, there's a good chance it was a test. A way to see if you'd fight for her attention. But by day 3, when you haven't fought, when you haven't chased, the test is over. Now it's real. Now she's actually wondering why you're not reaching out. Here's what women won't admit out loud. We expect men to break. A friend of mine once told me she ignored a guy's text on purpose just to see how long he'd wait. She expected him to double text within hours. When he didn't text the next day, she got irritated. By day 3, she was checking her phone constantly, refreshing his profile, wondering what he was doing and who he was with. She texted him first, just to get his attention back. That's the power of day 3. You're not doing what she expects. And that shifts everything. And here's what you don't realize is happening in her mind during these first 3 days. To understand day 3, you need to see the full timeline of what led here. Let me walk you through her psychological timeline, so you can see exactly how she got to day 3. Let's start with day 1. This is the confusion and dismissal phase. On day 1, when you don't text, she notices, but she doesn't panic yet. Her first thought is rationalizing it. He's probably busy. He had a long day. Maybe he fell asleep. She checks her phone casually, but there's no real concern. In fact, she might even feel a little relief. The space feels comfortable. Her ego is still intact because she assumes you'll reach out soon. You always do. In her mind, your silence on day 1 is temporary. Normal. Expected to break. Now, day 2 is when things start to shift. This is the awareness and testing phase. Now it's been more than 24 hours. That's longer than usual. She starts to become aware of the absence. Her phone checking increases in frequency. She's not panicking, but she's noticing. She might post on social media to see if you view her stories. She might text something casual to a mutual friend, hoping it gets back to you. Internally, she's having a debate. Should I text him first? No, I'm not chasing. He should reach out. Her ego is still trying to maintain control, but now there's a crack in it. She's testing. She's waiting, but she's also starting to feel something she didn't expect. The absence of your attention. Then we get to day 3. This is where everything changes. By day 3, she can't rationalize anymore. This isn't just him being busy. This is a pattern. Something's different. The confusion from day 1 and the awareness from day 2 have now crystallized into a realization. He's not texting. He's really not texting. And that creates a psychological void. The routine of your attention, the comfort of knowing you'd always reach out, it's gone. She's checking her phone specifically for you now. Not casually. Intentionally. And here's what's happening psychologically. The absence of your presence is making your presence felt more than if you were actually there. It's the paradox of no contact. When you're not there, she thinks about you more. When you're silent, your voice echoes louder in her mind. But here's the part most men don't understand about what's really happening on day 3. It's not just that she's noticing you're gone. It's what that absence is triggering inside her psychology. So what exactly is happening inside her mind on day 3? Let me break this down for you because there are 5 specific psychological shifts occurring simultaneously, and understanding these is the difference between staying strong and breaking your silence too early. The first thing happening is what I call the expectation crash. She expected you to break by now. Most men do within 48 hours. They panic. They text. They explain themselves. Your continued silence is breaking her prediction model of how men behave. She's used to being pursued. She's used to men chasing her attention. And when that doesn't happen on the timeline she expects, it creates cognitive dissonance. Her brain is trying to reconcile 2 conflicting pieces of information. You were interested before, but now you're not reaching out. That doesn't compute. And that mental friction creates psychological tension that she can't ignore. The second shift is the attention void. This is where the routine of your attention becomes a noticeable absence. Think about it like this. When something's always there, you stop noticing it. But the moment it's gone, you feel the void. She's now aware of the space you used to occupy in her daily routine. The good morning text that's not there. The check-in messages that have stopped. The consistency she took for granted is now gone, and that absence is louder than your presence ever was. Things that remind her of you now trigger feelings of missing. A song, a place, a conversation topic. Your absence has made you impossible to ignore. The third psychological battle happening on day 3 is between her ego and her genuine interest. Her ego is telling her one story. I don't care. He's the one losing. I'm not going to chase. But her genuine interest is telling her something completely different. But why isn't he reaching out? What if I push too far? Did I mess this up? This internal conflict creates emotional tension. And here's the thing. By day 3, genuine interest is starting to win that battle. The ego defense is weakening because the silence has lasted longer than she expected. The fourth shift is the power dynamic realization. She's starting to understand that you have the control now. The frame has shifted. She's no longer the one being pursued. She's the one waiting. And that's unfamiliar territory for her. Most of the time in dating dynamics, women are used to being in the position of choosing, of having options, of deciding whether to engage. But your silence has flipped that script. Now she's in the position of wondering, of waiting, of questioning. And that shift in power creates a psychological discomfort that makes her think about you more, not less. The fifth and final psychological state activating on day 3 is fear of loss. This is when the questions start. What if he's really done? What if he's talking to someone else? What if I pushed too far and now he's moved on? Scarcity psychology kicks in. The possibility that she might have lost you for good makes you more valuable in her mind. When something becomes scarce, we want it more. That's basic human psychology. And your continued silence on day 3 is triggering that scarcity response in her brain. And here's what she's actually thinking and telling herself on day 3. Let me show you her exact internal monologue. So what is she actually saying to herself throughout day 3? Let me walk you through her internal monologue from morning to night, because this is where you see the psychological shift happening in real time. When she wakes up in the morning, her first thought is about you. I wonder if he'll text today. Maybe he will. Maybe he's just been busy. She checks her phone immediately. Nothing. Okay. Well, it's still early. He might text later. She's still trying to stay optimistic, but there's a small crack in that optimism now. Should I text him? No, I'm not going to chase. He should reach out first if he wants to talk. By midday, the tone shifts. This is weird. He always texts by now. Why hasn't he said anything? She's checking her phone more frequently. Every notification makes her heart jump, hoping it's you. But it's not. Is he okay? Or is he with someone else? No, stop overthinking. He's probably just busy, but she can't stop thinking about it. Why do I even care this much? I shouldn't care. But I do. Why isn't he texting? In the afternoon, the doubt creeps in deeper. She starts replaying your last conversation in her mind. Did I say something wrong? Was I too distant? Maybe I pushed too far. She's analyzing everything now, looking for clues. He's definitely seen my story by now. He always views my stories. If he's seen it and hasn't replied, that means something. That means he's choosing not to reach out, and that realization stings more than she expected. By evening, the frustration sets in. This feels different than just being busy. Something's changed. He's pulling back. I can feel it. She debates texting you. Types out a message. Deletes. Types another one. Deletes that too. No, if he wanted to talk, he would have reached out by now. I'm not going to be the one chasing. But what if he's actually moving on? What if I missed my chance? Then night comes, and this is when she's most vulnerable. She's lying in bed, staring at her phone. Did I mess this up? Maybe I took him for granted. Maybe I didn't appreciate him enough when he was around. She scrolls through old messages, looks at old photos. I should text him. Just something casual. Just to see if he responds. No, that's desperate. He should text first. She puts the phone down, picks it back up 5 minutes later. The cycle continues. What if he's really done with me? Now, you're probably wondering, how do you actually know this is happening? How do you know she's going through this internal battle? Let me show you the specific signs that reveal she's thinking about you. So how do you actually know this internal battle is happening? What are the external signs that reveal she's thinking about you on day 3? Let me show you what to watch for. The first thing you'll notice is changes in her social media activity. She starts posting more stories than usual. Content that either reminds her of you or reminds her of conversations you've had. She's seeking your attention without directly reaching out. And here's the key. You'll notice she's checking if you viewed her content. If you see her viewing your profile or stories at odd hours, 2 in the morning, early morning, that tells you she's thinking about you when she should be sleeping. Another sign is mentions through mutual friends. She'll start asking about you casually. Have you talked to him lately? How's he doing? She's trying to get information without seeming desperate or overly interested. She wants to know what you're doing, if you're okay, if you've mentioned her. This is indirect reconnaissance. She's gathering intel. Here's what else happens. The accidental interactions increase. She might like an old post of yours. She might react to your story with a simple emoji. She might comment on something neutral just to create a touch point. These aren't accidents. They're breadcrumbs. She's testing to see if you'll engage, if you'll take the bait and start a conversation. You might also notice a mood shift that's visible to others. If you have mutual friends, they might mention she seems distracted or a little off. She's checking her phone more than usual in social settings. She's less present in conversations because part of her attention is on wondering why you haven't reached out. This is the psychological tension manifesting in her behavior. And the most obvious sign, she might send you a breadcrumb text, something vague like hey or a question mark or a reaction to something you posted days ago. She's not asking how you are. She's not starting a real conversation. She's testing. She wants to see if you'll jump at the chance to engage. But here's the critical thing you need to understand. If you see these signs, it means it's working. It does not mean it's time to break your silence. These signs mean stay the course. Don't react. Because here's where most men completely mess this up, on day 3. The biggest mistake men make on day 3 is breaking the silence because they see signs. You see her viewing your stories at 2 in the morning. You notice she liked an old post. You hear from a mutual friend that she asked about you. And your instinct is to reach out. Don't. Day 3 is still too early for breakthrough. Seeing her think about you does not mean it's time to text. It means the process is working. Let it work. Don't make the mistake of reacting to her breadcrumbs. If she sends you a vague text, a question mark, a simple hey, don't jump on it. That's not a conversation starter. That's a test. She wants to see if you'll break. If you respond immediately with paragraphs or questions or energy, you've just proven you were waiting for her. Match her energy. If it's low effort, you give low effort back. Or, better yet, wait. Here's another trap. Don't check her social media obsessively. Don't view every story immediately. Don't like everything she posts. Your absence needs to include your digital presence. If she sees you viewing her content within minutes of her posting, she knows you're watching. That gives her power back. Stay disciplined with your attention. Don't talk about her to mutual friends. Anything you say will get back to her. Have you heard from her? What's she been up to? Those questions tell her you're thinking about her. That weakens your position. Keep your interest private. And don't overanalyze every little thing she does. Not every action is about you. Not every post has a hidden message. Stay in your frame. Trust the process. Here's the rule for day 3 specifically. On day 3, your job is to do nothing. Let the psychological shift complete in her mind. Don't interrupt it. So what happens after day 3? Let me show you what to expect in the coming days. So what can you expect after day 3? The psychological shift that started on day 3 doesn't stop. It intensifies. Days 4 and 5 are when her thoughts about you become more frequent. The missing feelings get stronger. Her ego defense weakens further. This is when the probability of her reaching out increases significantly. She's moved past the rationalization phase. She's moved past the testing phase. Now she's in the genuine concern and missing phase. So if she's going to break first, it's most likely going to happen between day 5 and day 7. Now, if she does reach out, here's what you need to remember. Don't be immediately available. Keep your responses short and friendly, but not eager. Let her carry the weight of the conversation. Don't jump back into the dynamic you had before. Re-establish your frame slowly. Show her that your life continued without her, that you're not sitting around waiting. But what if she doesn't reach out by day 7? That doesn't mean it's over. It just means you're on a different timeline. Some women need more time to process. Some women are more stubborn with their ego. If you're past day 7 and she still hasn't reached out, that's a different strategy. Extended no contact has its own rules, its own psychology. That's content for another time. The key point is this. Day 3 is just the beginning of her psychological shift. It's not the end. So here's what you need to remember. Here's what you need to remember. Day 3 of no contact is when the psychological shift begins in her mind. It's when she moves from "he'll text eventually" to "why hasn't he texted?" Your silence on day 3 is breaking her expectation pattern. It's creating cognitive dissonance. It's activating her fear of loss. And most importantly, it's shifting the power dynamic back in your favor. But only if you stay disciplined. Only if you don't break because you see signs. Only if you trust the process and let it work. You're not the guy who panics on day 3 and sends a paragraph. You're not the guy who jumps at breadcrumbs. You're the man who understands female psychology. You're the man who controls his reactions. You're the man who stays grounded when most men break. That's how you win. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you currently on day 3 of no contact right now? What's the hardest part about staying silent? Drop your situation in the comments. I'll be reading every single one and replying to help you stay strong through this. Because these conversations matter, this is where real growth happens. Day 3 is when weak men break. Strong men stay silent. Be that man.